So despite the fact that I love a lot of characters in comics, there are some characters in comic book titles that I haven't read because I haven't had, it's not because I haven't had any interest in... There are some characters I'm like, I'm just not a fan of, or I like them, or I just don't want to read about them. I like them, but I don't want to read them, you know what I mean? And there are a lot of characters that I really do enjoy, I want to enjoy more of. There are a lot of, there are some out there that I just want to read more of, but I haven't had, you know, the right stuff or the right sources to read about them. You know, I haven't found the right stuff to read about them. And that's kind of what this video is about, so this is actually me asking, you know, what stuff from these characters and titles should I read and what you guys suggest, as well as 2 comic book titles from Dark Horse that basically saying, should I read them if you've read them as well. As considered here, Green Arrow. I've always wanted to read more of Green Arrow. And the reason why I've kind of had a bigger spike in Green Arrow is not just because of Arrow. I mean, yeah, I don't want to sound like a poser for saying, oh, you just want to read it more because it's Arrow. Well, Arrow has gotten... I think Arrow is really good, and I intend on doing a Season 1 review soon, once it's done. But, as well as, along with Coolio and Shades at Night, because they're watching it too. But, basically, the reason why I want to read more of Green Arrow is because I picked up, while I was at MegaCon, Green Arrow Year 1, and I thought it was frickin' amazing. And I was like, okay, I really want to read more Oliver Queen stuff, so... And the problem is, like, I've always liked Green Arrow, but he's never been, like, one of my top 10 favorite DC superheroes, even though I have a lot of respect for Ollie. It's, again, the problem of, you know, there aren't a lot of books out there that people wouldn't normally suggest, other than, you know, Longbow Hunters and Green Arrow Year 1, and those are the only 2 that everyone at any talks about, so... Yeah, that's kind of the problem I have, so I'd like to find more stuff with Green Arrow and read more about Ollie, because yeah. So that's pretty much it. Not and again, yeah, Green Arrow does have that you know, does have it in me because it's got the hook in me, basically saying, okay, you got me. I want to read more Green Arrow stuff. So yeah. Okay, so this one, Wonder Woman. Now, here's the reason I like Ollie. I like Wonder Woman. I think she's a great superhero. Problem is, I can't find a lot that's good about her. I mean, I have read some Wonder Woman comics before, and they were good. The problem is I can't find anything that's really great, and the problem is whenever I talk about to someone, you know, what Wonder Woman run should I read, and a lot of people are divided on it. It's like either the George Perez run, or the Gail Simone run, or the Greg Pak run. I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know where to start with Wonder Woman, and whenever I have a chance to read more Wonder Woman, it's usually like, oh, don't read that. That's crap. You know, so it's kind of put me off that because it's a shame too, because I've always loved the whole mythology to her, and I've always had a lot of respect for the character of Wonder Woman. The problem is I own a lot of her in Justice League and a few little mini comics of her, you know, little mini series of her in the DC universe, and as well as I have the full intention of picking up Wonder Woman Earth 1 because Grant Morrison is frickin' amazing, and I think that would be a great place to start with Wonder Woman Earth 1, written by Grant Morrison and artwork by Yannick Paquette. And again, it's just a matter of, I've always wanted to read more Wonder Woman on the grounds of, I want to find something good with her, you know, because a lot of times when I ask people, you know, diehard Wonder Woman fans, you know, what should I read? It's like, oh, no, read this, read this, read this. Pick one! And that's why I'm kind of asking, you know, what are some good Wonder Woman story arcs, at least, that I would probably enjoy? So, yeah. Following that is Justice Society of America. Now, I've always wanted to read a lot of Justice Society, and I love the concept of Justice Society, of these these almost like Golden Age pretty much Golden Age heroes, hanging out with a bunch of younger heroes and facing off against these weird villains. I've always had a love for that, but the problem is, it's kind of like what I said about what I said about with Green Arrow and Wonder Woman. The problem is that I can't find a right place to start, because every time I've looked into a Justice Society comic, I get so freaking confused of where to start, because I've looked through one, and I read through one in Books A Million once, and I was like, oh man, I'm so goddamn confused. And I don't know, I really want to give Justice Society a shot, because, you know, my friend the Mount Vernon kid loves it, you know, a lot of people love Justice Society. I don't want to read Earth 2, that's the thing. I do not want to read Earth 2, not on the grounds of what they did with Alan Scott. I have no problem with what I don't care what they did with the new... I just don't like the New 52 in general. Although I am hearing a lot of good things about Jeff Lemire's Green Arrow, and I'm still reading Aquaman. So yeah, but I just don't want to anything from Earth, the whole Earth 2 thing. It's not the comic and what the 52 thing in general. It's Earth 2 itself. I've never been a fan of the 2 Earth thing. You know what I'm saying? I've never been a fan of that. I've always preferred Justice Society in the same universe as Justice League. So I'd really like that. So yeah, that's can someone give me a good story arc for Justice Society or a good run for me to, at least try out? I'd really appreciate that. So that's all for DC, really. The only thing from Marvel that I've always wanted to get, well, the group of characters I've always wanted to read the most of is the Inhumans. I love the Inhumans. The problem is there isn't a lot with the Inhumans that, has interested me. Because they've always been with the Fantastic Four, but the one book I want to read of the Inhumans is the Marvel Knights story by Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee. I've always wanted to read that because I've always found the whole idea of the Inhumans basically their own royal family that get their powers from this mist, and they have this very tight-knit society, and the whole story, I'm really interested to actually check out the motion comic for this, and even though but I want to read the comic first. I really want to read the comic, and what I understand is that the Inhumans comic is by Paul Jenkins is really hard to find. So maybe if I can find it cheap on Amazon or something, I'd really like to read it there. But not only just the Paul Jenkins story on the Inhumans, I want to read anything with the Inhumans because they've always fascinated me. I just can't find any place to look for them. That's a good place. I have heard their Secret Invasion tie-in was pretty cool, as well as the War of Kings, but I haven't been able to read that. You see, the Marvel Cosmic stuff, it's so huge that it's actually kind of intimidating for me to read. So I did read Annihilation. I did read some of Annihilation, and I thought it was really good. But everything after that is just have to be so many tie-ins. You don't know where to go. The Marvel Cosmic stuff, as cool as it is, it's just very intimidating to get into. You know what I'm saying? So I heard there's some really cool stuff in War of Kings with the Inhumans, especially what they do with Black Bolt. So yeah, if anyone has any good suggestions of where to start with the Inhumans, I'd appreciate that as well. So moving on to now from characters to books themselves, and it's really just 2 books from Dark Horse that I've been kind of on the fence about, and I really want to a good word in of should I read this or not. That being the first being the Umbrella Academy by Gerald Way. For most of you guys don't know, Gerald Way is the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, and it has a lot of stuff that I usually like, the weird stuff, because it had apparently the big inspiration Gerald Way had was Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol run. That was a huge inspiration for that. I was like, oh, cool! I like cool Grant Morrison-y stuff. This looks fun. So I really want to check out the Umbrella Academy because it just looks like this fun, weird science fiction stuff that I'm always into. So yeah, that's because I've heard some really good things about it. It's just kind of like, well, should I buy it or not? Because I've heard it's really weird, it's really out there. Because I like my weird in a ranged way, I'd like to have a limit point to my weird, you know what I'm saying? And I've read some Morrison stuff that gets a little too Grant Morrison-y, if you know what I mean. But I still power through it. But this I'm kind of on the fence about. If anyone's read the Umbrella Academy and put in a good word, I'd appreciate it. So that's the first book. The second book is Emily the Strange, also from Dark Horse, like I said. Now, Emily the Strange has always been, I've known about Emily the Strange, it's just like a cool fashion thing, and I've only read one comic, and it was on Free Comic Book Day. That's about it. But I've always wanted to read more of Emily the Strange, because I heard it gets really psychological, and it gets very interesting to delve into more of the character. So I'd really like to see more of that, because it's another character that I've always wanted to get into more of, because she just sounds like such a cool character and the idea of it. And I heard there's a new and from what I understand from my friend Milan, from one of my YouTube compatriots, Milan Jeftik, is that there's the cool Emily and the Strangers, which is a kind of a reboot on the series, and it's this cool little mini-series. But anywho, if anyone's read, Emily the Strange comics before Emily and the Strangers, I'd appreciate it, and tell me what because from what I understand, it's not an ongoing, it's more of mini-series, kind of like what they did with The Goon and Hellboy, and those I really enjoy, and I have read a lot of Goon and Hellboy, and of course Alien and Predator books from Dark Horse, but I'd really, really like to get into this and Umbrella Academy. So, those are the characters and book series that I would like to read. If you guys have read them, or read character arcs with them, what books you think I would enjoy, or story arcs, just leave a comment below, and I would be much appreciated, because these characters, I really do love these characters, and the 2 book series I've been really curious to read. make no mistake, I do love Green Arrow, I do love Wonder Woman, I do love Justice Society. It's just kind of daunting to find what's good for them and what's not, if you know what I mean. But anyway, guys, I'm out.